Boeing have officially pleaded guilty to a criminal fraud charge, and it has taken the world by storm. We're diving deep into the story that has shocked the aviation world. Boeing, one of the largest aerospace manufacturers globally, has pleaded guilty to a criminal fraud charge. We'll explore the details of this case and look closer at its controversy surrounding Boeing's treatment of whistleblowers. Stay tuned for an in-depth analysis. So, let's start with the latest development. Boeing have officially admitted to deceiving regulators and the public about their safety on their 737 MAX aircraft. This charge stems from two devastating crashes in 2018 and 2019, which resulted in the tragic loss of 346 lives. Boeing has now accepted responsibility for misleading Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, regarding its safety to maneuvering characteristics augmentation system, or MCAS. And the video that I'm about to show you is quite an in-depth breakdown to this, to the world's reaction and the news' reaction to Boeing officially pleading guilty to this case. So here it is.
Boeing is agreeing to plead guilty to a criminal fraud conspiracy charge as the result of two fatal 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019 that killed 346 people. The deal has Boeing paying a fine of more than $243 million and investing at least $400.
By the way, $243 million in fines is just pennies for a company of this size. Boeing's huge. That's loose change. They probably saw that and were like, oh, thank God it's only that little.
$155 million to strengthen its compliance and safety programs over the next 3 years. Boeing has also agreed to a 3-year probationary period that will be independently overseen by the Federal District Court for the Northern District of Texas.
Now that's great. Obviously, it being court supervised, it means that there will be some level of accountability to Boeing to actually uphold these promises.
Let's bring in Zach Wichter. He's a consumer travel reporter with USA Today. Zach, thanks for joining us. The charge is conspiracy to defraud the United States. What does that mean in the context of the MAX crashes?
Right. So in this case, what Boeing is saying is that they made false representations to the Federal Aviation Administration about a system that they put on the 737 MAX generation of aircraft. Basically, the big controversy here was that Boeing, in order to make training pilots for this new generation of 737 easier and cheaper, they installed a system that's become known as MCAS, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, to help that plane handle like previous generations of the aircraft. But they didn't disclose to pilots that this system had been developed and installed, and it was ultimately implicated in two fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019.
What's the thinking behind this plea deal? Were prosecutors not confident they could get a conviction in this case?
You know, I can't say for sure what was in the prosecutor's mind, but certainly from Boeing's perspective, it helps them avoid a really contentious trial when they're already under a lot of scrutiny. And when it comes to prosecutors, you know, it could be that they just felt that it was clear-cut enough to move forward with this deal.
What about the families of the victims of the crashes? They've expressed they are not in favor of this deal. What recourse do they have, if any?
That's absolutely right. So my understanding is that the families of the victims from these two crashes are planning to appeal this decision. They're hoping that Boeing still faces trial. And it should also be noted that the plea deal that Boeing has entered into here doesn't actually shield it from possible further litigation down the line. And it also doesn't shield Boeing employees from personal litigation related to these incidents.
Wow, that seems significant to me. I want to ask you, as somebody who this is your beat, transportation and all things Boeing, what's your biggest takeaway from this plea deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's really important that Boeing acknowledges, and they have been acknowledging over the past few years, that they made a big mistake in the way that MCAS was developed and rolled out. And so I think that that's really important. It's also worth noting that this plea deal only covers behavior by Boeing prior to the 737 MAX crashes that we've been talking about. It doesn't actually touch any of the more recent incidents, including the Alaska Airlines door plug that blew out in January. And so Boeing, despite this plea deal, it's hardly going to be out from under the cloud that's been hanging over it. I think that the company still has a lot of work to do to repolish its reputation for the American traveler. And it remains to be seen how successful they are in doing that work. I think this is just one step, but they say that they're committed to improving their safety, and we'll see if the investments that they're making and the changes that they're putting into place actually help them reach those goals.
In the grand scheme of things, like, this is just not enough, is it? You know, like, you've got Boeing, this conglomerate that are pretty much untouchable. They got away, essentially, like, you know, it's a slap on the wrist in the grand scheme of things, with 343 deaths. You know, like, at the hands of their mistakes. Like, that shouldn't be the case at all. I think there should be far more serious repercussions for Boeing, and I don't think that this is good enough. But the MCAS was a critical flight system designed to prevent the plane from stalling. However, Boeing failed to disclose the vital information about the system, leading to the catastrophic accident. As part of their plea agreement, Boeing will pay $2.5 billion in penalties, compensation to the airlines, and the fund for the crash victims' families. Now, of course, that is far better than we had seen off the back of the entire situation, but I still don't think it is enough, if I'm perfectly honest. This settlement marks a significant moment in the aviation history, highlighting the importance and transparency and the safety in the industry. But the story doesn't end there. Boeing's controversy extends beyond these tragic crashes. Now, let's shift our focus to Boeing's whistleblowers. These brave individuals had come forward with the critical information about the safety concerns in the corporate misconduct, and there is a timeline of the recent controversies. Of course, we've had multiple whistleblowers come forward to talk about the lack of care and the distinct lack of, well, anything from the company. So, in January of 2023, former Boeing employee Ed Pearson testified before Congress, expressing his concerns about the production issues and safety flaws in the 737 MAX. Pearson raised alarms years earlier when he warned of largely ignored Boeing's management. Then, in May of 2024, a second Boeing whistleblower known for his role in exposing safety flaws tragically passed away. This whistleblower had provided critical information that led to further scrutiny of Boeing's practices. The situation took another turn, and when it was revealed that Boeing's employees had retaliated against whistleblowers, and in this shocking admission came from Boeing's CEO, who acknowledged that the company failed to protect these individuals from harassment and intimidation. Is that not enough? You know, like, we've got the proof is in the pudding. How can this not be enough for people to stop and realize that actually they played a part in these whistleblowers, you know, demises, and because they spoke out against the company? It's disgusting. This admission has sparked outrage and calls for stronger prosecution for protection for whistleblowers in the aviation industry. The courage of these individuals in coming forward has been instrumental in bringing the light to the serious issues within Boeing. As we can see, Boeing's recent guilty plea is just part of a much larger story. The treatment of the whistleblowers and the systematic issues within the company highlight the need for a reform and accountability in the aviation industry. And what's scary to think is, what would have happened had these whistleblowers not come forward? If they didn't say anything, where would we be? Because you know for a fact that Boeing wouldn't have held their hands up and admitted to all of this without that. So, we'll continue to follow this story closely and bring you the latest updates. But if you have found this video informative, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more in-depth analysis on major news stories. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed. Can't wait to see you in the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.